Hi everyone, I'm Teacher Esther and I'm very happy to see you again here. I hope my previous video on how to remember vocabularies has helped you and your child. So as what was mentioned last week, these are the 4 most common questions that parents are having. And today we are going to touch on the second question, which is what kind of question will be asked in open-ended comprehension? Okay, besides looking at the type of questions that will be asked, we need to know how to answer the questions correctly. So today I will share with you the tips to teach your child or teach your children on how to answer this question correctly and how to give a complete answer so that their marks are not deducted. Okay. All right. Before we start to look at the types of questions, maybe we should understand what is the purpose or what is the objective of having these open-ended comprehension questions. All right. Why is it important? Because we want to test the higher order thinking skills of our students. Okay, we want to test their ability to evaluate, to synthesize, to analyze, and to apply what they learned. All right. So basically, the questions can be categorized into 6 different thinking skills as stated here in the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, the knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So let's look at this hierarchy. Okay, as you go up the hierarchy, right, you realize that the questions get more and more difficult and it requires more thinking of the student. All right, so now let me go through this framework with you. But before I go through it, I want to state that this is just a very general framework, okay? I'm trying to categorize the questions according to these 6 different thinking skills as much as I can. But do understand that sometimes, right, the questions can transcend across different categories, you see? Yeah, and that's what it makes it very difficult or harder for students to answer. All right. Okay, let's look at the first level. Let me go through the first level with you. First order thinking skill, which is the knowledge. Okay, most of our students are required to recall the information that they have learned in class. And in fact, this type of questions usually ask students knowledge that they have learned before. Okay, and it's usually the first 2 questions of the comprehension, which is 填写词语. Okay, later I'll just give you a summary of what kind of questions will be asked. Later, we will go into individual sections in details. All right. All right. So 填写词语 is the part where students has been taught the meaning of the word in class for every chapter's learning. All right. So they are supposed to remember the meaning of the vocabulary and be able to find the vocab from the passage itself. All right. Then the second thinking skill will be comprehension. The student is required to understand the passage. All right. So and sometimes they need to summarize the answers. Okay. Then the kind of questions they will be asked is 为什么？原因是什么？从哪里可以看得出来？那作者有什么反应？或者里面的人物有什么反应？当一些事情发生的时候。Okay. And the next one will be application. Students need to apply what they learn from the passage as well as in their life, through their life experiences. They must be able to apply what they have learned before to answer this question. And usually this is an extension questions from evaluation questions, you see. So let's go up there. There's this evaluation questions usually refers to judging or recommendation. So students will need to answer questions like 从故事中你明白了什么道理? And the extension question will be 在生活中你会怎么运用这样子的一个道理？所以我们可以教导学生 we need to teach our students how to answer this kind of questions. Okay? 如果你是作者，你会怎么做？你认为作者的解决方法对吗？ So students are required to give a stand, to judge whether an action is correct or wrong, and to explain why. Okay? Okay, from application, we will go to analysis type of questions where students need to organize ideas based on the passage and then give identify or analyze the character in the story. All right, 所以问题可以是他的感受有什么不同，或者他的感受有什么改变。Okay, 他是个怎么样的人？请 请举例说明，或者他可能会问为什么，他是一个怎么样的人，为什么 ？Okay, so students has to identify what kind of person or analyze the person through what happened in the passage. All right. The next level will be synthesis. Okay, synthesis is quite a tricky section, type of questions because most of my students find it very difficult. This is one of the reasons is because the question will be asking like 这句话指的是什么？这句话的意思是什么？ And for the second type, 是这句话的意思是什么？ Students need to be able to read between the lines. Okay, they must be able to understand the meaning behind that statement. You see, so sometimes the students cannot understand because of their lack of experiences and exposure to the language in their daily life. We will look at the first level, which is knowledge, 填写词语. Okay, I would say this section is the easiest of all because you don't need to write a lot and you gain the 4 marks. Okay, question 35 is asking 指出缺点的词语是什么? Are you able to identify the vocabulary from this paragraph? Okay, let me go through this with you. In order to answer this question, students need to revise their school notes or vocabulary handbook. They must revise the Chinese meaning that is being taught. All right, so let's look at the vocab handbook itself. So, 批评 Chinese meaning is 对错误或缺点提出意见. Okay, if the student remember the meaning, then let's go back to the question. 指出缺点 is very similar to the Chinese meaning that is stated on the left side, correct? So the requirement, in fact, the best case scenario is when the students see the questions, they'll immediately able to tell you the answer, which is 批评. Then when they go back, they want to check the answer whether it's correct or not. They will go into the passage and refer to the passage and find that word 批评. Okay, if they are able to find it, that means their assumption is correct. Okay, and that's where they will write down the answer. But a lot of students, what is the common problem is that they don't even know what the question is asking for. So it is good that your child be prepared, okay, that your child knows what they are asking for. You understand? Yeah. So how to prepare for question 34 and 35, these kind of questions? Okay, first of all, children have to go through the vocabulary handbook and remember the meanings, the Chinese meanings, okay, specifically. Okay, next, okay, to test their understanding, because after asking them to revise, we also need to test them to know whether they have learned it or not. So you will be required to use the textbook as well as the HYQ booklet, all right, to let them practice. Okay, it is a skill. This kind of vocabulary searching skill is a skill that you need to let them practice. Okay, through practice, it gets better. Okay, then after that, after they have mastered this skill, you may let them do exam papers. I recommend for this section, comprehension, open-ended comprehension questions, that you let your children use exam papers. Okay, first of all, is because if you use assessment books, sometimes the difficulty level can be quite hard. Okay, so now let's look at the second part, which is HYQ booklet and textbook. We are going to see how these two things can work together and help your child be better, okay, in answering these kind of questions. Okay, so let's look at chapters 8 of 6B textbook. Okay, when you go into chapter 8 of the textbook, you will see this passage. Okay, this is a textbook passage which you always see in the textbook, all right? So after reading the handbook, students are not supposed to use the handbook. They have to use their textbook, referring to their textbook passage only, and the booklet. When you open up to chapter 8, let's look at questions 7 and 8. All right. So the question is, for 7 is 知道得很清楚. So in their vocab handbook, that their prior knowledge, they have learned it already. They should know that it's 熟悉. So going back to the passage itself, they should try to find the word 熟悉. Okay, and 贫穷 for question 8. Okay, 生活资源缺乏 will be 贫穷, and these answers can be found from the textbook itself. Okay, over here 熟悉 and 贫穷. All right. Okay, now we go to the next thinking skill, which is comprehension. All right, 为什么？原因是什么？ Okay, I'm going to give a few examples and using one of the exam papers, past exam papers, comprehension, all right? So question 1 is 为什么作者一直觉得小姑娘很可怜 Okay, to help you understand this question and the answers better, I'll read through this paragraph, so please be patient with me, okay? 每3个月我就会到我家附近的一家理发院剪头发。这家理发院里除了老板，还有2个理发师和一个负责洗头发的小姑娘。我一直都觉得那位小姑娘很可怜，看得出她很想学剪头发，但2位理发师对她不理不睬。有时还故意对他发脾气，他只能静静地坐在一旁，目不转睛地看着他们剪头发。好 ，The question here is 为什么会一直觉得小姑娘很可怜 ？Our advise students to try to find these keywords from this little phrase from the passage itself. So they have to try to go and find it first. And this is where you found it, okay? Where you'll find this sentence. All right, so what is the next step? Usually, the answer will be before or nearby, will be nearby these keywords. All right, usually I tell students to look at the sentences before and after these keywords. All right, so let's read through the sentence that's before these keywords. Okay, 这家理发院里的除了老板，还有2位理发师和一个负责洗头发的小姑娘。我一直都觉得那位小姑娘很可怜。好。You have to ask yourself, 这家理发院里除了老板还有2个理发师和一个负责洗头发的小姑娘。Does it show that girl is very pitiful? It doesn't. All right, so this is not the answer. So let's continue. 我一直都觉得那位小姑娘很可怜，看得出她很想学剪头发，但2位理发师对她不理不睬。有时还故意对他发脾气。Yes, the other 2 hairdressers are not very friendly towards her. I think this is why she's pitiful. So this can be the answer. Yes. Okay, and a lot of students will stop here. I want to advise students, please look at the sentence behind it too. Okay, as long as they belong to the same paragraph, you try to look at them and ask yourself whether they are necessary or not. So maybe you will have to continue reading. 他只能静静地坐在一旁。目不转睛地看着他们剪头发，可怜吗？其实是很可怜的哈，因为他自己站在旁边，要安静的在旁边，然后自己学剪头发，偷偷的看他们剪头发，这样子的做法是很可怜的。OK， 好 ，So this will be the 2 answers. This will be the complete answers for this question. OK， So 因为他看得出小姑娘很想学剪头发。但2位理发师对他不理不睬，有时还故意对他发脾气，他只能静静地坐在一旁，目不转睛地看着他们剪头发。Okay, so what I mentioned earlier, please remember to ask your children, to tell your child to read on, to ask themselves a question whether this is relevant to the question or not. Okay, is it supporting my answer or not? Yeah, if it is, please include it in your answer. Okay, the second type of question, 从哪里可以知道小姑娘很想学剪头发 Okay, this is the same paragraph as what I mentioned just now, so I'm not going to repeat. Okay, so 很想剪头发 Let's go to the keywords in the paragraph itself. 看得出她很想剪头发 Okay, so now, what will be your answer? I guess most of the students will probably look at this statement. 她只能静静地站在旁边一旁目不转睛地看着他们剪头发。Okay, this will probably shows that she wants to learn how to cut the hair. Okay, but if you give this statement only, it will probably gain you 1 or 1.5 marks, half the marks. So what is the other point that is missing? I think to bring out the point, 她很想学剪头发 you must understand that she's in a very difficult situation. So it's important to state that 2位理发师对她不理不睬，还故意的对她发脾气。Okay, because they did this to her, and yet standing one side, she's still watching them cut hair. So this shows how much she really wants to learn hair cutting, you know. So this is an important supporting points that your child should include in the answer. Okay, so the complete answer should be 虽然2位理发师对他不理不睬，有时还故意对他发脾气，他只能静静地站在一旁，但是他还是目不转睛地看着他们剪头发，可以知道。 Okay, so this will be the complete answer. And do remember, this is a very important point to note also. A lot of students write 从, but they forget to complete the statement with 可以知道. Without this 可以知道, marks will be deducted. So do remind your child to remember to write down 可以知道. Sometimes I advise my students to write 从 and 可以知道 first, then fill in the blanks in between. Okay, just in case they will forget. You can try that too, right? So now let's look at the third type of questions. 当作者指定要小姑娘给她剪头发时，小姑娘有什么反应？好，所以 this is the keywords. 指定要小姑娘给她剪头发。We can find these keywords from the passage itself. Alright, so 反应 refers to what? It's the response. It can refers to feelings. It can refers to expression, action, speech, and even sometimes thoughts. Alright, these are the reaction that the person have after something happened. Okay, so based on this, we know that usually, in the usual case, the answer should come after the keywords. Okay, so in this case, 我踏入店里，特地指定小姑娘给我剪头发。她紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和我说。1个小时后，我朝镜子一望，顿时呆住了。好 ，So which part is the response of the little girl? It should be 她紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和我说。Okay. So to gain marks for these kind of questions, you need to understand that anything that refers to speech, actions, feelings, expressions, you need to include it in your answer. Alright? 所以他紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和作者说。Okay? Okay, the next level that we are going to is the analysis level. I will skip the application level first because I will talk about it together with the evaluation thinking order. Alright? So analysis, the type of questions will be 他的感受有什么不同或者改变，他是一个怎么样的人。Question number 4. 小姑娘第一次和第二次给作者剪头发的表现有什么不同？ Okay, this kind of questions, you need to understand they are asking for 第一次和第二次。Okay, when we say 表现有什么不同, that means you need to tell me the first time, how does she perform? Second time, how does she perform? What is the difference? You see, you need to compare before and after. All right, so let's look at the first time. You can find it in the paragraph 1. 他指定小姑娘要给她剪头发 so this is the first time. Second time is 3个月后，他仍然指定要让她给她剪头发。Okay, once you find these two parts, right, the 第一次 and 第二次, then you will be able to find the answers nearby. Okay, as what I mentioned in the first question itself, I mentioned that the answers are usually nearby the keywords. Yeah. Okay, so near the keywords. So the answer should be 她紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和作者说。It's not done yet. I'm talking about the 表现有什么不同 So you must say that 它很难看。Okay, 难看 is the product. So you must say it. That is the result of the what happened to what the performance. So we need to conclude it with 很难看。Okay, then the second time. 他看起来自信满满，双手不抖了，还一边剪头发一边和他聊天，然后剪得很好。这个就是女孩的表现 ，OK， 那个小姑娘的表现。所以我们必须把这两个前后的表现写下来。Okay, the common mistakes that a lot of students make is that they only give after what happened after that. What is her performance after that? They will forget the first part. Alright, so most of the students will lose half the marks for this question. Okay, so as long as you see questions like this, 有什么不同，有什么改变 please remind your child to give before and after. Okay? Okay, so the complete answer should be 第一次，他紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和作者说，剪得很难看。第二次，他看起来自信满满，双手不抖了，还一边剪头发一边和作者谈天，剪得很好看。Alright. You can use their words like 第一次、第二次 to start your statement. Okay, question number 5. 作者是怎样的人？从哪里可以看出？ Okay, this kind of question is a very common question that you will see towards the end of the comprehension. All right. And over here, there are 2 paragraphs to state what the writer did towards to help the girl who is learning hair cutting. All right. So to give you a brief idea, I have to go through these 2 paragraphs. Okay. Okay. 我把这一切都看在眼里，心里很同情她。一天，我踏入店里，特地指定小姑娘给我剪头发。她紧张极了，拿着剪刀的手微微发抖，一句话都不敢和我说。1个小时后，我朝镜子一望，顿时呆住了。我心想，难看极了，我这几个星期该怎么出门见人？当我正忍不住想要狠狠地批评她时，我想起自己一开始要她替我剪头发的用意。我让自己平静下来，然后假装高兴地说：“剪得真好，谢谢你。”小姑娘脸上露出了微笑。我这好意的举动让这位少女找到了自信。接下来的日子里，她努力练习，认真地帮顾客剪头发。3个月后，我再到理发店里，仍然指定让她给我剪头发。这次她看起来自信满满，双手不抖了，还一边剪头发一边和我谈天。过后照镜子时，我惊喜地说道：“你真的剪得很好。”她开心地向我挥手告别，就继续为下一位顾客剪头发。好。Having understand the whole passage is about this writer helping the girl regains her confidence. So, before you answer, let me explain to you. When the question is asking you for 怎么样的人, we need to know that we're asking about the personality. It's not about the person's look, appearance, or we also don't want to look at words that are very general like 好人 or 坏人. All these, when you talk about the appearance and when you talk about 好人坏人, you will get 0 for it. Okay, no matter what kind of reasons you give after that. All right, so please note that the first part and the second part are related. All right, they need to tally. Okay, so there are some keywords that you can find from these 2 paragraphs to see what kind of person the writer is. Okay, 他讲心里很同情他。Okay, 然后还有呢，少女找到了自信。Okay, 所以从哪里可以看出？ is usually we need to go and find some reasons 从哪里可以看出他是这样的一个人。Okay, so these are some of the words that you can find from passage. But sadly to say, usually the 怎么样的人 you need to know how to write the words. Okay, sometimes the words can't be found in the paragraph itself. All right, so it's good to prepare your child to learn how to write what kind of person a person can be, you know, the type of person a person can be. So later I'll teach you, I'll let you share with you how you can prepare your child on that. Okay, so we can say 他是个有同情心的人。Okay, based on the words 同情， let us look at the previous slide again. So 心里很同情他， you can say 他是一个很有同情心的人。Okay, 当作者看到小姑娘很想学剪头发时，但是2位理发师对她不理不睬。 故意对他发脾气，他只能静静地站在一旁，目不转睛地看着他们剪头发。作者觉得他很可怜，很同情他，就可以看得出来他是个很有同情心的人。那当然，我们也可以说他是个很善良的人 ，He's a very kind person。作者知道小姑娘刚学剪头发，而且剪得不好，但是还为了让她找回信心，愿意让她给自己剪头发，就可以看得出来是个很善良的人。所以。 The most important thing is your supporting evidence, like 从哪里可以看出 must be able to support the description that you have given. Okay, let me repeat myself. The important thing about this question is when you give an example from the passage, when you try to take out the examples from a passage, you must make sure that it supports the description you have given to the person. All right. If it doesn't tally, I'm sorry to say that, you'll get 0 for it. All right. Okay, so this is the list that I was talking about. Okay, later I will share with you how you can get this list from me. All right. Okay, so it is important to teach your child, to prepare your child by teaching them how to write the words. Okay, because during exam, if they have no reference in the passage itself, they have to write out the words themselves. All right, and it's important to teach them how to analyze the story, the passage, and come out with the suitable description of the person. Okay, now let's look at the next level, synthesis level. 这句话指的是什么？是什么意思？ Okay, both questions look similar, but they are actually not the same. Okay, for example, question 6, 好意的举动指的是什么？ It is asking you what it refers to. So actually, you can refer to the passage itself. Okay, usually the answers will be somewhere in the passage that's nearby. Okay, so let's identify where is the keyword. 好意的举动 is here. So that means the answer will be nearby. Alright, so let's look at this part. 我心想啊，难看极了，我这几个星期该怎么出门见人？当我正忍不住想要狠狠地批评他时，我想起自己一开始要他替我剪头发的用意。我让自己平静下来，然后假装高兴地说：“剪得很好，剪得真好，谢谢你。”小姑娘脸上露出了微笑。我这好意的举动让这位少女找到了自信。接下来的日子里，她努力练习，认真的帮顾客剪头发。所以好意的举动，我这好意的举动让她找到了自信啊。That means the answer should be before these keywords, okay? Because 我这好意的举动 it leads to a result that is the girl found her confidence. Okay, so it should be something that happens before that. So 举动 refers to action. So we need to find the sentences that they are talking about the actions that the writer has done. All right, so it will be 我让自己平静下来，然后假装高兴地说：“剪得真好，谢谢你。” This is what he did, and this is the action. So we need to write it in our answer. But of course, we cannot write exactly the same. We need to change it. This is a direct speech. It's a speech, you know. So we cannot use it directly. Okay. So you need to change it a bit. Okay. But this is not enough. Please note that this is what the 举动 what the writer did. But 好意的举动 it refers to an action with a kind intention. So maybe it is not the writer is trying to be kind to the girl. So the part that's in front is also crucial. Okay, 你要记得她的头发是很难看的，然后他还说了，他忍不住想要狠狠的批评她，但是结果他没有，反而他称赞了她。所以前面这个部分啊 the part in front is very important also. Okay, it shows there's a twist in the action because of the intention, because of the good intention, you see. So it's important to state it in the answer too. Okay. 所以好意的举动指的是，当小姑娘把作者的头发剪得很难看时，作者没有狠狠的批评她，反而还高兴的感谢她，夸她剪得很好。Okay, so by writing this way, you'll get full marks. Okay. Okay, question 7. 脸色越来越难看是什么意思？ This type of question is slightly different from the previous type of questions because they need you to interpret this phrase too. Okay, you need to tell me what's the meaning of this phrase. Okay, so going to the paragraph itself, you'll find it here. 老板的脸色也越来越难看。Students are tested based on their prior knowledge. That means based on a phrase that maybe they have learned it somewhere else, they should be able to explain in their own words what the sentence means. So by right, this over here is 脸色越来越难看 means 很不高兴，老板很不高兴，或者老板越来越不高兴。Okay, and do note that you need to state 老板 you need to tell me who is the person who is getting more and more unhappy, you know. Okay. Okay, so what happened to the other 3 marks? Okay, you need to tell me the situation that happens, what happens beforehand, or what happens that makes him unhappy. So many students will probably give me answers like this. 因为他的生意越来越差，老板的脸色就越来越难看，或者越来越不高兴。Okay, like this, the answer is also incomplete. You'll probably get 2 marks. So what is important? You need to ask yourself, 他的生意为什么会越来越差？ You need to explain that part too. Alright, then it will support your point that the 生意越来越差，所以他越来越不高兴。Okay, so in fact, the entire paragraph is the answer. This is something that students will miss out on. And then one more thing to note, when you give the answer, you cannot use back 脸色越来越难看. You have to use your own interpretation. So you have to say 他越来越不高兴. So the complete answer should be 这句话的意思是当两个理发师在有一天突然去另一家理发院做工，老板请不到人，只好将小姑娘升级为理发师，并亲自教她怎么剪头发。但是她没有自信，剪的头发让顾客不满意，许多老顾客都不来了，生意越来越差，让老板越来越不高兴。Okay? So now let's go to the last two thinking skills, evaluation and application. All right. Okay, so for question 8, 如果你是作者，你会怎么帮小姑娘？ Okay, this is a question that requires the students to come up or to recommend ideas. Okay, look at it this way. They have to suggest a way that cannot be similar to what was mentioned. So over here, probably you can say, 我会写信鼓励他，并介绍他看一些关于剪头发的视频，让他从中学习。Okay, now question 9, 你同意作者帮小姑娘的方法吗？为什么？ Okay, this is asking you for your opinion. So students have to agree or disagree. My advice is try to agree if the method that the person is using is effective and morally upright, which is correct, morally correct, okay? Because my reasoning is that it's easier to explain your stand because you can quote what happened in the passage itself. Okay, it's more like there's a guide. But, however, if it is not effective or it is not correct, it's not a correct action, you must disagree with it and state your reason why. All right? So, you can say, for these questions, both are acceptable. Let me explain to you the first type of answering. First answer, 我同意作者的做法，因为他成功的帮小姑娘找到了剪头发的自信。Okay, so I agree. Even though I know he liked, but I think I agree with his method because he managed to help the girl regain confidence. You see? So this is my reasoning. 你也可以说我不同意他的做法，因为说谎是不对的。小姑娘可能会以为自己真的剪得很好，不再努力学习。Okay, so you can disagree too and give me an appropriate reason, and which you have to think of it yourself. You see, so it compared to the first answer, you will see is definitely difficult, more difficult to answer. Okay, we go to question 10. 从故事中你明白了什么道理？在生活中你会怎么运用这个道理？ Okay, for this question, because I'm not going to use this passage, so I'm just going to give you a brief idea of another passage that probably means the passage content is like this. There's a boy, he wanted to learn how to swim and join competition, but because of the situation that he's in, he faced a lot of obstacles, but he did not give up. And in the end, right, after many years of training himself, right, training himself up, he actually managed to get into get to represent the country, to participate in the competition. Okay, so 这样的故事呢, usually they're asking you to tell me what do you understand, what do you learn from this story. You need to tell me what is the moral of this story. Okay, you tell me the moral of the story, and usually one good news is that the moral of the story can be found, that statement can be found in the passage. Okay, half of the time, yes. Okay, so please ask your child to go and find this statement. If you can find this statement, you gain the marks, which is usually 1 to 2 marks. All right, okay, but if you cannot, then you really have to understand the passage and come up with your own sentence. All right. 所以在生活中你会怎么运用这个道理 So when you understand the meaning, what the passage wants to tell you, then probably you have to create. Okay, this is more of like a creativity question again. You have to tell me how you apply what you know and then use it in your life. Alright, so for example, 我明白了我们做什么事都不应该轻易放弃，要坚持到底 to persevere. 我学骑脚踏的时候 so this is what you will do in your life. 我学骑脚踏车的时候一直跌倒， 但是我不应该轻易放弃，要继续练习，不怕跌倒，最后才能学会骑脚踏车。Okay, this question is asking the student 你会怎么运用这个道理 so you can answer in a sense that this thing may not have happened and you will do it this way. Okay, there are some questions you ask it differently, so maybe you have to say what you have done before. Okay, so I hope my explanation for these 10 types of questions is clear. All right. Okay, I've come to the end of my presentation. This is just a reminder, you can purchase a copy of my HYQ booklet from the website. And for those of you who are keen to get a copy of the list of descriptions for your child to practice, you can go to my website, to my Facebook page, HYQ Education Facebook page, and comment a like for this post and share this video with friends. And I will get back to you and forward you this copy. Thank you so much. I hope my sharing has been useful to you and hope you have a nice day. Thank you.